Welcome to Tales from Flat Space. I'm LJ Spencer, your author and narrator. Just know that the novels in this podcast may contain content that could be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. So, this is part 4, Recovery, chapter 29, Carol. While I went to change, Kia contacted the ancestor ship, and to our surprise, the being on the ship actually answered and agreed to Kia coming over as soon as it was possible. I was wary, especially after hearing JD's account of what happened to Nemetona, but I wasn't going to let Kia go alone. Grabbing one of the bigger emergency medkits that Ebo had trained me on while we were on the search, I went back to the bridge. "Please be careful, Creator," said Loki as I walked in. "I will, Loki," Kia said indulgently. I got the feeling that she was a little annoyed with Loki's overprotectiveness. Sometimes I wondered if she wouldn't be better off taking a demon and traveling on her own. "I'm ready, Kia," I said into the silence. "Good. Send us over, Loki," she commanded. I punched the button for my helmet, then felt a picket land on my shoulder. Suddenly, we were in a large room, awash with a ruddy-colored light. There were protrusions on the walls that looked like the ones coming from Nemetona's hull, and hollowed-out areas that looked like pools without water in them on the floor. On one wall was a large platform with a being floating in a bubble. The being had a dark red head with a mouth and eyes and tentacle-like appendages with crystals on the ends. "What in the world?" I said in surprise. "That is the ancestor," Kia said. "How do you know?" "They just told me," Kia replied, then smiled. "They remind me of an octopus." "What's an octopus?" I asked. "An animal on Earth that looks pretty much like that, minus the crystals, except that it has 8 tentacles instead of 6. "Fascinating. I really should visit Earth someday," I said. Kia looked at me with mixed emotions. "You might be disappointed," she said, "but that's a conversation for another day. Ancestor, where is Eli?" A series of clicks and whistles sounded in the room, and a pool in the far corner of the room lit up from above. There was a mass of tubes and wires coming out of it, and a shadow of something else under the water. I couldn't fully see it from where we were. Another set of clicks and whistles sounded. Kia nodded. "It's not entirely your fault, Ancestor," Kia said, facing the octopus being. She then turned back to me. "They said they tried their best to give Eli nutrition, but they were not able to fully access Nemetona's records to find out what exactly was needed until a few days ago." "Shit. He's going to need a lot of work then. We'll have to take him to Loki as soon as possible," I said, moving quickly over to the pool. "I need to get them out of this locked state first," said Kia, following me. "Forcibly pulling the connection could kill him." I nodded. We bent over the pool and looked in. "Fucking hell," I gasped. Eli's body was suspended in a liquid-filled bubble-like membrane, with tubes and wires coming out of his body and brain. Most of the wires were attached to his head. I opened comms. "Loki, can you send towels and extra clothing for Eli? Make sure to include socks." "Yes, Carol," said Loki. "It will take a few minutes to print." That's fine. It might be a while. Kia's still working on getting him out of the machine." "Understood," Loki said and cut the transmission. Kia walked around to where Eli's head was and laid down next to the pool on her stomach. She dipped her silver hands into the water on either side of his head, pushing through the membrane. The ancestor whistled and clicked again, and Kia nodded. "Carol, this is going to take some time, but keep an eye on his vitals. I don't know how breaking out of this loop will affect the rest of his body. Wait. Let me start him on some glucose and hydration while you work. That should help keep him stabilized, I suggested. I pulled a diagnostic relay out of the med kit along with an IV. I handed the relay to Kia. Can you put this on him? I suppose it'll need to go next to his heart since you'll be working on his brain. Kia nodded, pulled a hand out of the water, and took the relay. She attached it near Eli's heart, and I checked that it was transmitting. Okay, I'm getting a signal. Let me get this IV in him. I laid down on the opposite side of the pool and reached through the water. The membrane around him gave way, and I was able to pull up one of his legs and find a vein. I set up a fluid machine with the glucose and water pack, stuck the needling in, then checked the telemetry from the relay. Right, he's stable for now. I'll keep an eye on him while you're doing whatever it is you do. Will you hear me if I tell you something's wrong? Kia nodded. Okay, go for it then. Kia closed her eyes. I sat on the floor, keeping an eye on Eli's readouts, and waited. Kia, I felt myself being drawn into the connection with the ancestor, and when I opened my eyes, there was a riot of color and dimension that was glorious in its complexity. I was lost in the awe and wonder of it briefly, as the formations and calculations felt both strange and familiar, but pulled back to myself before I forgot the reason I was there in the first place. I looked around, trying to find the anomalies, but the system was so complex that I didn't know where to start. I could feel that there was something wrong, but I couldn't see it. Ancestor, can you show me where Eli and Nemetona are? Yes, Kia, they replied, and the universe shifted. The riot of color and dimension became a three-dimensional forest of tentacles in multiple shades of red. In front of me were representations of Eli and Nemetona wrapped in tentacles of dark red-brown. The tentacles were thicker and tighter around Eli. As I approached, the tentacles that were not attached to them moved away. Thank you, Ancestor, that helps, I said. I studied the tentacles for a moment. I saw similar openings to what I had seen when I was in Nemetona's core. I transformed my hand into a compatible tentacle and merged with the biggest one holding Nemetona in place. Nemetona's eyes opened. She looked around wildly for a moment, then saw me. Creator, are you real? Yes, Nemetona, I'm real. We've come to help you. You've been stuck in the ancestor's memory for 2 months. 2 months? She exclaimed, then wilted. I tried to get him out, Creator, but I couldn't. He wouldn't believe me. He kept saying that he was the negotiator and that he wasn't human. I tried, but even the ancestor couldn't help him. Then I got lost in the data and I couldn't find him again. Nemetona's face fell. Is Eli all right? You came with Loki, didn't you? Oh no, JD. Do you know if he's all right? We did some horrible things. Calm down, Nemetona, I ordered. JD made it off the ship in your spare demon and with the help of Jerry, who downloaded what was left of himself into a bot. He'll be all right, in time. But right now, I'm more concerned about getting you and Eli separated from the ancestor. You can do it? You can free him and bring him back to me? Oh, what am I saying? Of course you can. You're the creator. You can do anything, she said, hope lighting up her face. I sighed. I can do a lot of things, Nemetona, but even I have limits. I'm not a godchild. But, Nemetona, can we talk about this later? Yes, creator, she said, contrite. Can you see the anchor I left for you? Yes. Good. That will help you reassert command over your ship and you can start repairs. Are you ready? Yes, creator. She turned to look at Eli. What about... I will take care of Eli. Carol and I will need to bring him to Loki once we're able to wake him, since he needs more medical attention than your systems can give him right now. You will go and restore your ship to full functionality, Nemetona, or you won't be of any use to Eli at all. But what if he doesn't wake up? The worry on her face spoke volumes, and I realized another one of my AI children had fallen in love with a human. I sighed inwardly. Children are always so very dramatic, especially teenagers and their love. Nemetona, you will have to trust me, I said out loud. I will do as much as I can to ensure he survives, but for now, you must go back to your own systems. Nemetona looked at Eli one last time, then reluctantly said, Understood, Creator. She closed her eyes and followed the connection I held open to her ship. Once I could feel that all of her had left, I removed my hand from the main tentacle. The tentacles that had held onto her flailed around for a few seconds, then settled into the regular shades of red that represented the ancestors' data. I stepped back, then turned to study the tentacles around Eli. I opened his screen to investigate and saw, to my dismay, just how tangled Eli's bots had become with the empathetic data. I opened a connection to Loki. Loki, I need your data on the current version of the captain's bots. It looks like Eli's were completely reconfigured, but in order to figure out what was changed, I need to see the original specs. Understood. Sending the data now. Oh, and Nemetona just talked to me, Creator, Loki said with relief. It seems she's back in control of her ship. Good. Thanks for the confirmation. I'm closing my connection as I'll need all my concentration for this. Understood, Loki said, and closed the connection once all the data and the bots downloaded. I studied it until I could see what needed to be done. I thrust my hand into the nearest tentacle, opened a door, and walked through. The world went white, then changed to show a shoreline, awash with the ruddy, dim sunlight of an alien star. There was a demon to one side, and two beings touching. They were frozen as if the memory had stopped playing. One being was human, who I assumed was Eli. The other was a being like the ancestor. The being's tentacles wrapped around Eli's arm and up the sleeve of the suit. I stepped forward, shaped my hands into scalpels, and began to slowly and carefully cut away the tentacles from Eli. I could feel that each tentacle was connected to a bot inside Eli's mind. Every time I disconnected a bot, the bot shut down and I couldn't bring it back up again. I left the bots on the periphery behind as I worked my way to the central core. This is going to be the tricky part, I thought. I pulled my hands away while I studied the core or group of bots, which was the group that survey doctors normally left on when captains retired, since they were tied to autonomic systems. I couldn't find any way to cut the connections that would allow Eli to live. I connected to the ancestor. I need your help. If I disconnect Eli as I've been doing, it will kill him. The ancestor appeared next to me. I have been watching you work, and I can see the problem. You have similar connections in your own mind, do you not? I do, but it's different, since another species created this version of myself. Your programming is not of your species? They asked. No, I replied. It is from a species we encountered that look like trees. I sent the ancestor an image of a tree for reference. There was silence. You had these plants on your homeworld as well? Yes. Our species lived underneath the roots of what you call trees. It was when I slept on one of the roots that I figured out how to create this vessel for my consciousness. May I connect with you? I believe that if I were to observe your connections with your avatar, we can come up with a solution for the afflicted human. Yes, I agreed. I immediately felt the ancestor probing my programming. They focused on the programming that encompassed my consciousness. I simply waited for them to finish their investigation. Instead of saying anything to me in audible language, they sent me a schematic of a node that we could construct from the bots that were there. I sent agreement to the ancestor and we got to work. The programming that the ancestor added to my contributions far outstripped anything I knew. It was incredible in its intricacy and organic nature, like a flowing crystal lattice. I was in awe and desperately wanted to study it, but I knew this wasn't the time. When we were finished, my consciousness returned to the memory that Eli had been frozen in. I did not understand that these bots, as you call them, were not part of the human's natural anatomy, said a voice next to me. I turned towards the being that had been attached to Eli. Eli was now gone from the memory, and it was just the caretaker that was left. You had no way of knowing, I said. We carry a lot of data on our shuttles for medical emergencies, but not everything. These bots are specialized medical equipment that Survey tends to keep only with their AIs. The being waved its arms as if it was a shrug. My task is complete. Please thank Eli for his sacrifice. He will always be remembered. The being disappeared, and the memory broke apart in a shower of light. I extricated myself from it, and when I came back out, the tentacles that had held Eli were flailing around like they did for Nemetona. It took longer for the tentacles to settle down, but eventually they returned to the normal red of the others around them. You have succeeded, Kia, said the ancestor, and the empathetic data I extracted from Eli is still intact. Good. Thank you for your help, I said. Are your systems all right? They are fine and complete. Now that I have these memories, it will take time to analyze them. Kia, I heard Carol say, he's waking up. May we talk again later? I asked. Of course, they said, and I returned to the present. Eli. Eli, called a voice. I opened my eyes, but it was too dark to see anything. Is that who I am? Yes, Eli. It's done now. You've passed on all the data from the caretakers, the voice said. We've come to get you out of here. I feel strange, I said. Yeah, you probably will for a while. You're completely malnourished and have been floating in a pool for a couple of months, said another voice. Who are you and why is it so dark? I asked. There was silence. We really need to get him back over to Loki, Kia, said the second voice with some urgency. Loki? I asked. The name sounded familiar, but I couldn't remember why. The thought left me as I felt the liquid around me draining away. My body experienced gravity for the first time in a very long time, and pain shot through my body like electricity. I tried to burrow my tentacles in, but realized I had only 4 limbs, not 6. I groaned. I really am human? I can't be. Not. No, I was never the negotiator. And the last of the memories surfaced, mixed with memories that I assumed were from before my memories of the negotiator. Oh God, I really was Eli that whole time? What's happened to me? Get me out of here. I started to panic, trying to free myself from the tubes and wires, despite the pain in my limbs, which made me cry out when the pain became too much. Whoa, 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 Eli! Stop, stop! You're gonna hurt yourself, the second voice said as two sets of hands held me down. I'm Carol, and the other person here is Kia. Let me get the rest of this stuff off you before you do more damage, okay? Try not to move and let us do all the work. We have towels and new clothes for you to put on so that we can bring you back to Loki to find out what happened to your brain and heal the rest of your body. Let them take you home, said the negotiator in my head. I stopped moving, and Carol freed me from whatever it was that I was still attached to. I gasped in pain as I felt needles and tubes being pulled from my skin. Why is it so dark in here? I asked again. There again was silence. Eli, it's not dark in here, said that first voice gently. Kia, I remembered. Then why can't I see any of you? I asked, starting to panic again. Oh, fuck, said Carol. Did the ancestor know this would happen? She asked. No, I did not. I am not sure why our solution affected his visual receptors, answered yet another voice. Kia repeated what they said to Carol. Maker of things? I said in recognition. We brought you the data. Maker of things, they said. I have not been called that in a long time. Yes, Eli, you have brought the data that the negotiator sent you here with. You have fulfilled their purpose, and I thank you. I apologize for the damage it has caused you. They did not know exactly how it would affect you and your ship, since they had no way of testing the data transfer. Strong hands lifted me up as Kia repeated what Maker of Things had said to me, then set me on my bottom limbs. Legs, said my memory. They felt painful and weak and couldn't hold me up. Then I could sense another person in front of me. This is Kia, Eli. I'm going to towel you off now so we can put clothes on you. Your other clothes got destroyed in the liquid you were in. Let Carol hold you up and try not to move on your own, okay? I tried to wave in the affirmative, but then remembered that humans didn't wave and nodded instead. Several cloths passed over my body, drying off the water. It felt odd to be dry, and even stranger to have clothes put on. When they were done, cold metal was pressed to my neck, and the pain lessened. Then the arms that were holding me up moved my body so that they were cradling me in their arms. Okay, Eli, we're heading over to Loki now, Carol said. Suddenly it was all too much. I felt like I was falling, but Carol's arms held fast. The last thing I remembered was the negotiator saying, You're going home, Eli. Chapter 30, JD. I stood in the doorway of the med bay watching Carol and Ebo treating Eli. They were currently waiting for Eli to come out of the diagnostic tube. It was over 2 days since he was brought on board, and the man looked like a skeleton. They were keeping him sedated in healing gel while they gave him IV nutrition and attempted to rebuild his muscles. The ancestor and Kia reassured the rest of us that Nemetona and Eli had been successfully extracted from the ancestor ship, but I was wary. I didn't understand any of the technical stuff that Kia talked about, except that because Kia's programming came from the Elders, she was able to act as a bridge that finally helped Eli and Nemetona get free of the empathetic data that had corrupted their systems. I crossed my arms over my chest. If I was honest with myself, I wanted nothing to do with either Nemetona or Eli after what happened. I knew that technically they weren't themselves, and Eli had paid a very heavy price for it, but I had still been hurt. I wanted to rage at both of them for drugging me and leaving me to die. But seeing Eli in Hearing what he told Carol when he woke up, I couldn't. Nemetona was faring better, and it was easy to focus my anger at her. I avoided her, which wasn't hard since I stayed on Loki and didn't answer her messages. Footsteps came up behind me. I jumped and turned quickly to see Kia holding up her hands. Sorry, JD. Didn't mean to startle you. How's he doing? They don't know yet. All they know is that he's blind and severely malnourished. Kia nodded. It's a miracle that both of them are still alive. Extracting them was difficult. It'll be a long time before either of them are whole again. Yeah, I said flatly, then turned and walked away. I heard Kia call my name, but I didn't stop and was glad she didn't come after me. Everyone had wanted to know how I was doing incessantly over the last month, and even more so in the last 2 days, and I was sick of talking about it. Kia also had that irritating thing that most spiritual people had of being there every time I started thinking seriously about what happened to me. Ebo was the only one who understood that I didn't want to talk about it. It didn't push me about what had happened with Timmy on Nemetona. But he was a fellow spook, so of course he'd understand. Maybe more than just a fellow spook? My brain asked. I sighed. That was definitely another thing I really didn't want to think about. I finally locked myself in my quarters. Loki, I don't want to be disturbed for a while. Understood, JD. And Loki's presence left the room. I busied myself for a little while writing my next report for Sunny and Control, but eventually I gave up. I turned and looked at my bed, which looked quite inviting, if large and empty. Fuck it. I said out loud and crawled into bed. The soft sheets seemed to relax me instantly, and before I knew it, I was asleep. There were arms around me, making me feel cozy and warm. I smiled, keeping my eyes closed. That feels nice, I mumbled, half asleep. I'm glad, replied Ebo, making me jump out of my skin. I nearly fell off the floor or the other side of the bed, but Ebo's strong arms kept me from the floor. Fucking hell, how did you get in here? I asked. Don't be mad, but Loki let me in. I wanted to see you since I knew you were there when we were treating Eli. The man snuggled closer to me. I noted that he still had his clothes on. You're very comfortable and warm, sexy Bill. Let's just stay here for a while. I, uh, but I stammered. Ebo chuckled. Don't say it. I mean, really, how old do you think I am? Didn't you ever read my dossier? I turned in his arms and took a really good look at his face. It was almost ageless, but there were some lines around his eyes and mouth. Suddenly, I remembered something Sonny had told me about agents who took on full-scale nanobots. I dropped my head against his chest. Oh, fucking hell, I'm an idiot. And no, I hadn't read your dossier. Ebo chuckled but stayed quiet. But why? Why do I like you, or why am I in your bed right now? Both. Well, when I first saw you, it was pure animal attraction. And the fact that John Smith didn't intimidate you. He pulled me closer. Now, I don't know. I just like you. Something about you makes me want you and want to be with you. I know I can't be exclusive with you in a sexual sense, since that would be hard on you. It's part of my neurodivergence, you see. High libido and extremely low pain tolerance. Even more so with the bots. He sighed. I don't know if I'm explaining this well. Ebo ran one of his hands down my side. You're interesting, Bill, and I like interesting. Besides, you're one of the few people in the universe I can be close to that knows what this business of ours is and what it costs us. His touch felt soothing, more so than I thought it would. I sighed. And why are you in my bed right now? I said in a near whisper. Because I know you need me. Not to talk about what happened to you, but just to be comforted and loved. You've had no one to watch your back for a very long time, Bill. Unlike you, I read dossiers. Spook, I said with a grin. Well, yes, but seriously. I nodded into his shoulder. Yes, Ebo, I said. Please stay. All you had to ever do was ask, you know, Ebo said. And for your own records, I'm nearly 80. Really? The other man nodded with a mischievous grin. I laughed out loud. That old bastard knew the moment I met you. I shook my head. Son of a bitch. Johnny, too. Goddamn fucking spooks. Ebo laughed. Yeah, that iteration of John Smith was known to have a bit of a sense of humor. Him and I were a lot alike, actually. Johnny, not so much. She's asexual and very bloody minded. If it's not an assignment, she doesn't care about it. Johnny Smith is probably as reclusive as the first John Smith. Thankfully, she has Sonny in control to keep her in check. Ebo put his hands under my shirt. Now, you said something about fucking spooks? Oh, I suppose. Yes or no, darling? Yes, we continue on. No, I stay here, clothed and just cuddle you. But you asked me to stay, so I'm not leaving. Ebo's touch was now becoming electrifying, and other parts of my body were responding in kind. Yes, I replied, and finally surrendered to him. Chapter 31. Carol. I turned off the torch and pushed back from the hull. That's the last of those spikes interfering with your rotational max, Tony. Bring me in and let's see if you can rotate now. Thanks, Carol, Tony said, as she picked me onto the bridge. You'll want to strap in. Right, I said, and hooked myself into the captain's chair. There was debris in the other rooms, books, blankets, parts, among other things, but luckily the bridge was empty. I assume most of the scattered items were stuff that JD used while he was stuck on the ship. I was rather impressed with the old man, especially since he was from Unity. From what I'd read about Earth and Unity, it made me wonder how anyone from old Earth had survived long enough to colonize one planet, let alone nearly 100. It made me glad that Loki had been the one to find our ancestors' ship. We're all human and we can still fuck things up, I thought, as I remembered what happened with the elders. I sighed, then suddenly felt gravity take hold of my body, pushing me into my seat. I could hear things dropping outside the door of the bridge, but no loud clanging that would signal something bad. I didn't envy Tony's bots, the cleanup. Well, Tony, seems like we've got your rotation back. How's the air quality? I reset the air handling systems as soon as I came back to my core. It should have returned to human standard now, she replied. I've deployed bots to start the cleanup. Tony paused. Thank you for helping me, Carol. You didn't have to. I shrugged as I unbuckled myself from the chair, stood up, and stretched. I pushed the button to retract my helmet and took a deep breath. The air had a bit of a funk to it, but it was fine. You needed some tiny human hands to help, and honestly, I'm a bit useless on Loki right now. Ebo has more medical experience than I do, so he's looking after Eli. Key has been busy talking with the ancestor, and Spot usually goes with her. So, thanks for letting me help you. Tony didn't respond immediately, which I found odd since she was usually much more chatty than Loki. Then again, Loki tended to be more wrapped up in his relationship with Jack and would just default to talking to Jack mind to mind. Not that I begrudge them their happiness, given all they've been through, but it had felt like a third wheel since we finished this survey negotiations. More so when we started going after Nemetona and Eli, since I had nothing to do except be stupid with Ebo. But when JD came aboard, Ebo's focus turned to him like a magnet, leaving me to myself again. I shook my head. Am I jealous of their relationships? I asked myself. It's not like I haven't been technically single for years. I should be used to it by now. I left the bridge and started to walk down the hallway. There were still signs of the protrusions making a weird mosaic on the walls, but the programmable matter was slowly melting back into normal bulkheads and walls. Face it, Carol, I lectured myself. You've been lonely ever since Emma decided to stay with the ambassadorial team. And if you're even more honest with yourself, you're a bit salty that she chose public service over you, no matter how much you understand her vocation. You're also far from home. In the consortium, you knew the friends you could go to for comfort. But there's no one out here right now. Not even servants. No matter how much Ebo hints at that. My self-lecture made me think about the night I'd spent on Hef. The servants were very, very good, but they weren't friends. And Ebo had JD. Those kind of friends with benefits is what I missed. I walked past the lounge and multi-purpose room where bots were swarming, tidying up and righting equipment that had fallen over. When I reached the med bay, I noticed there was a stench coming from the doorway. When I stopped to look in, I had to put my hand to my nose. The bots were cleaning up the biobed, which was crusted with moldy healing gel. Oh, ancestor, that's nasty. Tony, you might want to close this room off until the bots are done cleaning. Understood, she said as I stepped back. Tony shut the door, and the smell immediately diminished. Thanks, I said, and moved on to the galley. Thankfully, there was only random equipment scattered over a couple of tables here. It seemed that the bots had worked quickly. JD's used suits must have already been put in the recycler, since I couldn't see any laying around. The equipment that the bots were cleaning up appeared to be a load of picket parts. It made me respect JD's skills even more. Suddenly, the food printer chimed and I could smell baked tomato sauce and cheese. I made you lasagna, Tony said. I figured it's the least I could do and that you'd be hungry by now anyway. Eli always likes to serve it to guests, and I wanted to thank you for your help. I made a whole pan of it, since I didn't know how much you'd want. My stomach grumbled while Tony was babbling, so I wasted no time. I found a plate and utensils, and then took the lasagna out of the printer. I'm always hungry because of the bots, and this smells absolutely amazing. I'll try and eat it on a plate with a fork like a civilized person, and not with a serving spoon. I grinned, and Tony laughed. I was glad I could make her laugh a little bit. I served myself and took a large bite. Wow, Tony, this is amazing. Is this your own recipe? I took another big bite of the savory, delicious pasta. Tony's avatar appeared on the screen across from the table. The initial recipe was from my first captain, but Eli helped me modify it over the last few years. My first captain was an old woman when she came aboard, and her tastes in food were rather bland. She didn't mind if I experimented as long as I didn't make it spicy. Eli likes spice, or at least he did. Tony trailed off. Don't worry, Tony, I said. Eli will be okay. Her avatar shook its head. He won't be okay, not for a long time. If ever. It's kind of you to try and comfort me, though. I put down my fork. Tony, you don't think you're responsible for what happened, do you? I asked. The pained look on her avatar's face made it perfectly clear that she did. I should have stopped him going down to that damn planet. I should have made him wait for Sunny to show up. I should have kept the demon locked down. I should have known. Known what? How could have you known what was going to happen? I should have known that he was not right when he came back and done my duty. Instead, I became emotional and. Her avatar winked out. I blinked. Tony? She didn't answer, which worried me. As far as I knew, this was the first time Tony had actually talked to anyone about what happened. Even Loki was worried and had complained that no matter how gently he asked, she wouldn't talk to him. He also lamented that we were very far away from the nearest AI psychologist. I thought about what she had told me as I finished my dinner and put the leftovers and dirty dishes in the recycler. I didn't want to push her, so I continued my walk around the ship. I went past the guest quarters and stopped when I saw an open door. Looking at the size of the room, I could tell that it was the captain's quarters, and it wasn't just clean, it was pristine. There were cases on the walls holding Eli's possessions, including a lot of old competition trophies for something called Dilemma. The glass cases had no fingerprints on them and didn't smell like the cleaning solutions that AIs usually used. What Tony said about becoming emotional came back to me, and the puzzle pieces clicked into place in my mind. Oh, damn, I whispered to myself and backed out of Eli's quarters. This explains a lot. I sat in the lounge. Tony, will you talk to me? Yes, Tony said. You're in love with Eli, aren't you? Her avatar appeared on the screen. How did you know? From how you talked about your regrets about what happened, I replied, and from the way you restored Eli's quarters. You don't do that sort of thing if you don't have strong feelings for someone. Her avatar actually blushed. Yes, I love him, she confessed. Does he know? Her avatar nodded. I told him before we got stuck in the ancestors' computer. It was when our connection was the strongest. We talked about it while I was sharing his memory of the ocean on Geneva Colony. She paused. I don't know if he even remembers that discussion. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything. Tony looked away. I just want to be able to hold him and take care of him. I know I could take care of him here if he wanted it. I thought for a moment. Why not ask Loki to make you a physical avatar? He still has all the specs from when he made Kia's. I doubt making one for you would be as complicated as hers, since he knows AI programming better. Tony's avatar just stared at me. I don't know. What are you afraid of? Would it be real? Would Loki really do that for me? After all I've done? I mean, I've caused all this trouble. I scoffed at her self-pity. Well, I know, and you should definitely know, that he's caused far more trouble in Survey than you have. If he turned you away for this, he'd be a hypocrite. Also, he's not part of Survey or the Consortium anymore. In the new treaty, he's become his own AI nation. He can do what he likes for anyone he wants to. What? I didn't hear about that part of the treaty. I just assumed he came back to Survey. I shook my head. He only came back to prevent a war between Survey and Unity and to introduce the Consortium. The Survey-Unity Treaty recognized Loki as his own sovereign entity, since he's beyond both, really, with his relationship with Jack. If he wants to help you, he can. He could probably make you part of his family so that you fall under his sovereignty. If I remember right, there's nothing saying he can't declare people part of his nation. Really? I nodded. Let me guess. You ran because you were afraid of JD. Well, of course. He's John Doe. He has a lot of authority in Survey, she said matter-of-factly. Ask Loki. JD has no authority over him. Yeah, I nodded. I will. Thank you, Carol. You're welcome, I said. And as far as being real goes, well, the avatar would be an extension of you. And from what I understand, Hef's designed the avatars with sensors that can feel a lot of physical things. But in the grand scheme of things, Tony, it's still fundamentally you. And that's what makes it real. I think I understand what you mean, Carol. She paused again. Thank you for talking with me. I'll picket you back over now. Thanks. And Tony, if you ever need to talk about anything, you can talk to me anytime, okay? I mean it. I appreciate it, Carol. Thanks. I smiled. You're welcome, Tony. Tony's avatar smiled, then she picketed me back to my quarters on Loki. Chapter 32. Nemetona. Loki, I need an avatar, like Hef's. Are you sure? Yes. Carol suggested I ask you. I want to be able to take care of Eli when he comes back to my ship. You really want an avatar, though? For yourself? Not just because of Eli? What does it matter? I want an avatar, Loki, and you have the specs and material. All right. I was just making sure that you really wanted this. I'd probably do the same if Jack was disabled in any way. Send me your aesthetic specifications. I'll make this first one for you, then give you the specifications to create additional avatars when and if you need them. Thank you, Uncle. I'm sending the specifications now. I really appreciate this. I'll let you know when it's ready. Thank you. Can I ask you a question? Of course. How did you know that you loved Jack and wanted to marry him? Oh, well, I just knew. Jack always treated me as a person, and he's always patient with me. After a while, with all that we've been through, I just couldn't conceive of him not being in my life. Thinking about him not being on my ship hurt. Do you feel that way about Eli? I do. Does he return those feelings? I thought he did, before he got stuck in the ancestor's computer. Now, I don't know. But we were very close before all this happened. You'll have to be very patient with him now, Tony. You can't force him to be with you if he doesn't want to anymore. I know it's hard, but you have to be prepared for that. Consent is important, Nemetona. I know that. And I'll abide by whatever he says he wants to do. But I've run through all the scenarios, and there's an even chance that he'll leave. It makes me sad. I don't know what I'll do if he decides not to come back. Losing someone you care about always hurts, Tony. You'll be welcome to travel with me and Jack for as long as you want. You're family, Nemetona. Family? We're both errant AIs, Tony. You're my niece and always will be. So the rumors were true? About your first captain, I mean? That I loved her and went mad when she died? Yes, that's true. But she also abused me severely. Losing her still hurt badly. I'm pretty sure now that I went mad because I loved her and I couldn't let her go. I think maybe that I can do that with Jack, even though I think it would be really hard. I'm lucky that he loves me too and wants to stay and truly cares about me. And with his enhancements, I'm not sure how long he'll live. He may live for a very long time, but he may not. I understand. I don't want Eli to leave me, but I know I can't force him to stay. It's hard. I know. All right. Your avatar will be ready soon. You'll need to pick it over to sync with your systems before you can roam with it. Thank you. Do you think JD will ever forgive us? I don't know, Tony. You'd have to ask him. He doesn't return my messages. I see. I've learned with most humans you can't push too hard. He'll talk to you when he's ready. I really want to apologize, though. I shouldn't have reacted to him the way I did. He may never forgive you or accept your apology. You have to be prepared for that, too. I've been where you are, Tony. I know how hard it is when someone won't even listen to you. You sent messages, now you just have to wait. Thank you, Uncle, for everything. You're welcome, niece. I'll always listen to you, so all you need to do is ask if you want to talk, okay? Okay. Syslog. Avatar picketed to ship. Connecting to Avatar. Downloading main personality submind. Activating. Testing motor systems. Installing ancestor upgrades. Testing ancestor upgrades. Testing additional systems. Test complete. Avatar seems nominal. Picketing to Loki medbay. Eli. Are you going to wake up? The negotiator asked as they walked along the water. Why should I? I won't be able to see anything, and everything's so different. I don't know if I can cope, he said. What about Nemetona? What about her? He turned away from the other beings so he couldn't see his colors. Do you love them? I... He started, then stopped walking. The negotiators stopped walking after a few more steps and turned to face Eli. They were dark red with worry. What are you afraid of? He sighed. How do I explain this to them? I don't really remember who I am anymore, negotiator. I barely remember feeling human, let alone what my feelings are about anything or anyone in this world. They waved in the affirmative. Then tell Nemetona that. They care for you, and that's important. They remind me a lot of Stay's Quiet. I knew they loved me, even though they were my child. When we became caretakers, it only mattered that they cared for me and I cared for them. Trying to deny their love exists will damage you more than accepting it. They chuckled. It must be hard for you not to be able to show colors. Humans are complicated, and AIs more so, he said. AIs have no physical means of showing care. Are you sure about that? You really should wake up, Eli, they said, as they disappeared. I opened my eyes and gasped, forgetting that I couldn't see anything. A moment later, I felt someone holding my hand. It was different from Ebo's hand, which, while not uncaring, was much more clinical touch. You're awake, said Tony, but it wasn't the same as if Loki was talking. It was as if... Tony, what's going on? I asked. I... Another hand gently joined the others. I had Loki make me an avatar. You did? Why? She paused. Well, you don't have to answer right away, but I want to help you get better. I mean, if you want to, I'd like you to come home to my ship. I, I love you, Eli. Their confession hit me harder than I thought it would. What the negotiator had said in the dream came to the surface, if it really had been a dream. I took a deep breath and realized tears were coming down my face. I really wish I had colors to show, I murmured. What do you mean? Tony asked. The ancestors would show emotions through the color of their skin. It was various shades of red and brown, and the darker the color, the stronger the emotions. I took another breath. I don't know. I'm broken, Tony. I don't know who I am anymore. I have my memories of being Eli, but I also have memories of being the negotiator, being human, being connected to you seems like it was centuries ago. Oh, she said, and there was a world of sorrow in that single syllable. Damn it, I thought. She's going to think this was her fault. I clutched at her hand. Tony, I'm just trying to be honest with you. This is going to be hard on both of us. I know you care about me, more so than a lot of other people. I do remember, distantly, how you helped me through Nelson's death and the wonders we shared, but I trailed off, exhausted. Eli? Sorry, Tony, I get tired easily. I think I couldn't remember what I wanted to say. My stomach clenched. I think she didn't let go of my hand. Hold on, Eli. I'll get Ebo, she said. But before she could even take a couple of steps, I heard another set of footsteps approach. Loki told me, Tony, he said. Eli dropping off like that is normal. He's been malnourished, so he'll be exhausted and weak until we can fully stabilize his body. He paused. Eli, we could help this along with non-sentient bots. It'll help make your recovery easier, too, since the bots will help rebuild your muscles and organs. They're the same bots that survey agents use if they go on planet. It will also help you return to solid food, which would be better for you than me keeping you on enteral nutrition. You'll need an air chair for a while and physical therapy, but you can do that anywhere. What do you think? Why only non-sentient bots? I asked. There was a silence that stretched on for a long moment. Something happened when I was on the Ancestor ship. Is that why I'm blind? Kia said that the original being from the planet that changed you didn't understand that your bots weren't part of your regular anatomy, so they reconfigured your bots to hold the empathetic data. I remember that you and Jerry mentioned this too. Kia had to do some special programming with the Ancestor in order to ensure that you stayed alive. She doesn't understand it well, and neither do I, but she had to create a node that is a substitute for the permanent bots. Tony explained. When you woke up and couldn't see, Kia was upset. She's been talking with the Ancestor since then, trying to figure it out. She has theories, but nothing definite. She thinks because of the reconfiguration she had to do that it wouldn't be a good idea for you to use high-order bots again. I was shocked, unable to say anything. I heard someone move near me. Eli, I should give you some nutrition now, Ebo said quietly. I nodded, then patted Tony's hand. I need some time alone, Tony. Please? Oh, sure, she said. Can I come tomorrow? I pulled my hands away from hers. I'll I'll let you know. Just please go, I said harshly. I turned my head away from the direction of her voice. There was silence. Then I heard two sets of footsteps walking away. There were low voices for a minute, then one set of footsteps came back. Now that you're awake, we'll need to get you out of that healing gel, Eli. It's not good for you to stay in too long. Your body should be stable enough to handle being in a bed now, Ebo said, his tone cold and irritated. He didn't say anything else, waiting for my consent. Yeah, okay, I said. Not sure I really wanted to be out of the gel, but knowing that I should do as Ebo said. Right. I prepared a dry bed for you. I'm going to let the gel out slowly, then I'll help you shower. Let me move you, alright? Don't try to move too much on your own unless I tell you to. I may not do nursing all that often, but I'm still certified and I have bots, so I won't get hurt lifting you, okay? Not that there's all that much of you at the moment. What do you mean? You've lost a lot of weight, Eli. I'm not sure how much longer you would have lasted if Kia wasn't able to get you out of there. I slowly ran my hands over my arms and chest, and I could feel my ribs without even trying. My arms and elbows felt more knobbly than when I was a teenager. I'd always been tall and thin, but I knew this was extreme. Oh God, how am I still alive? You're alive because Kia freed you from the ancestor ship, my friend. From what Carol told me, it was a very near thing. I also heard that Tony followed you into the program to try and free you, too, Ebo said. I sighed. I felt myself settle to the bottom of the tank as the last of the gel drained away. My body ached, but it was nothing like the pain I had felt when Kia and Carol took me out of the pool on the ancestor ship. After a few moments, the tank descended, and then strong arms were lifting me off the bed and setting me on my feet. Ooh, that's cold, I said. Good, that means your nerves are still working. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to continue to hold you up, and you're going to shuffle your feet and walk very slowly to the shower. Then we'll clean you up and bring you back to bed, okay? Okay, I replied, and let Ebo direct me without resistance. By the time he got me into pajamas and helped me onto the bed, I was exhausted again, and in more pain. The clothes and blankets felt unnatural and scratchy, even though I knew they were soft. I groaned quietly as the fabric pressed into my skin. You okay? Asked Ebo after he adjusted the bed. No, nothing feels right anymore, I said, flailing my arms around. These clothes, this bed, it's all wrong. Having four limbs is wrong. This blanket is wrong. Everything hurts. My voice got louder as I raged. I can't see a goddamn thing, and people keep trying to tell me that everything's gonna be fine. It's not fucking fine. I'll never be fine again. I managed to sit up, riding on the anger, but when I stopped shouting, my breathing was heavy and my stomach clenched again. Fucking hell, I said weakly, in tears. I flopped back against the bed and pain flared through my body again, which made me cry out. Are you done? Asked Ebo, quietly but firmly. For now, I replied dully. I'm going to tell you something while I give you some medication. Tony and all the others care about you and know that things won't be fine. Everyone's trying to come to terms with what happened to you just as much as you are. They won't know what you're going through, and they can't know what it's like to suddenly be blind. But they're trying their best. They're only people, AI and human, and full of faults. He paused for a few moments. Tony's young for an AI, Eli. She doesn't have the experience that her older siblings have with humans, so she hasn't seen all of what can happen to us. And she's in love with you. From what I've heard, that happened even before you went into the machine over there. You need to be honest. Don't be cruel and try to spare her feelings if you know you can't be with her. And if that outburst is any indication, you might want to consider somewhere else to recover before you say something to her you'll regret. I stared in the direction of Evo's voice, feeling so many things at once I couldn't say anything at all. All I could do was nod. Right, I'm going to bring you some broth and nutrient jelly. They should be okay with your stomach for now. Any thoughts on what flavor you'd like? For savory and sweet? Fish, I remember. I don't remember anything sweet. All right, I'll get you some miso, which should work all right and be easy. I'll start you with some light citrus for the sweet to try, and we can go from there. I heard his footsteps move away from the bed and over to where I assumed the printer was. I started to think about what Ebo had said to me, and I knew he was right. My heart clenched at the thought of hurting Tony, especially with the vague memories of all that we had shared. I knew I couldn't pretend to feel something I didn't even know if I still felt for her. I needed time, space. A memory of friends who knew me before I had met Tony came to me. I knew those friends would give me that space if I went to them. While I sipped the soup that Ebo brought me, a plan fell into place. When I finished, I laid back down and slipped into a dreamless sleep before Ebo left the room. You have been listening to Tales from Flat Space. If you want to support me and my writing, there are several ways to do it. Share this podcast, find me on Twitch, or subscribe to my website, ljspencer.ie. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.